What's up, y'all? Hogs and Mac. Hope you're doing good. Happy holidays. This is night 7 of Hanukkah. It's been going pretty swimmingly. I hope everybody's had a miraculous last week. There's still tonight and tomorrow to connect with the potential and energy of miracles. And, the fun thing about Hanukkah is that it doesn't require, a lot of restriction or really any fasting or anything of that nature. It's mostly about, connecting with the light of the candles, doing the candle lighting ceremony. There are blessings and songs that go with it. But it's a fairly simple holiday with a lot of power and, potential and gifts available. So I always really enjoy Hanukkah. It's, purely positivity. The encouragement is to connect us with joy and deepen our faith and refine us as a vessel of sharing the light. Rather than, part of what unlocks the miracles of Hanukkah is when we can overcome our lower nature. And usually during these 8 days and the time period around this time, we might find ourselves a bit challenged. This is a time of year that's ripe for that. I mean, we're going into the dark, soggy winter months. Our moods are kind of dropping and getting a little sullen, in some cases. The holidays are difficult for many people for a lot of reasons. Finances, family dynamics, losses, tragedies, all kinds of things, pressure to perform. So, this is a great time for the challenges within us, the ways that we are challenged deep within to come out and show, hey, look, this is where there's still space for the opponent to get in and mess with your ego. And if you can heal this during this time period, there's like extra miraculous power behind it. Like the power of God is here for us to connect with, to bring our problems to bring our challenges to, for help solving them and to overcome them. And so all it takes really is sitting with intention and meditating on the light of the candle and setting the intention that you're connecting with the light of the Creator. And, you can pray in that moment out loud for help with your challenges. And, from a Kabbalistic perspective, we're not really approaching our lives hoping that we're going to change the circumstances or the other people involved. I mean, it's not that we can't hope that the circumstances will change, but the way that we approach any situation, any given situation, is that we look to see what we can first transform within ourselves, within the situation, assuming that the circumstances and variables are the way they are for the sake of provoking us into our growth, if that makes sense. So Hanukkah is a gift where we get to bring our challenges to the light of the Creator and ask for help with those. And the key to solving those is not waiting for, the winning lottery ticket or waiting for someone else to finally see the light. It's a shift within us where we put our differences aside and we can overcome our self-righteous grudge. And we may be justified in that. But that miracle that we unlock when we can overcome the smaller self and take the high road, so to speak, align with that higher self, when we can do the compassionate thing, when we can choose forgiveness, even if they don't deserve it, even if they did do that wrong thing, it's our willingness to give over the grudge. It's our willingness to overcome our pride or our rightness. Or if there's something that you've been afraid of, that you've been holding yourself back, that you've been playing small, maybe it's time to have the courage of your convictions and do something courageous and brave. The Maccabees, there was only 13 of them. These were the group of Israelites that defeated an army of 14,000 Greeks. So at that time, you know, everyone that they knew, the Maccabees, were completely broken physically, spiritually. I mean, think about like the situation in Israel right now, how, you know, individuals there might feel. It's very similar. It's like this, you know, the Greeks were in control at the time, and the Israelites weren't allowed to study their spirituality. They weren't allowed to practice. And so they had to sneak and do it. And the fact that that army, they could have said, you know what, this is a lost cause. Like no one around us even has any faith anymore. We've completely disconnected from the light. There's no way we can win this thing. They've completely subjugated us and taken everything. There's no hope. It is completely bleak. But instead, they drew strength from within, and they knew that because they were protecting the temple in Israel was a place that had all of the power, right? Israel is so fought over because it's the heart of planet Earth. It's the most powerful spiritual like place on Earth. And so this particular, like the temple back in the day, the high priests, they were able to see and you know, speak prophecy and give blessings and be very effective. If you had problems, no matter what your faith was, you were like, okay, we're going to go to Israel and we're going to take it to the temple, and they're going to pray for us, and we're going to do something to connect in ritual, and then like we're going to have this prayed for and it's going to be resolved. So that was at threat. Like that was something, it's sort of like, you know, the American dream on Earth, right? When we see that what America has represented, when that's at risk, we want to stand up and fight for it, because people all over the world, whether they agree with us or not, when they're fleeing, you know, their oppressive situation, or they want to, you know, chase a dream that they can't do where they live, it's like they know that this is a place where that is possible. It's a place where hope can happen and things can, possibilities can happen. And so that's the same kind of thing that they had. They were like, oh, we've got to fight for the temple. And at the same time, you know, one of the other scenarios that was going on that day was that one of the vials of oil that were, all of them were defiled and ruined by the Greeks. And so there was one flask found during this 8 days that was still blessed and pure from the high priest. And so they were able to light the lamps. Now it's worthwhile to note that Hanukkah didn't start when this historical event happened. There was already a window of time open every year for those 8 days, starting the 25th of, I think you say it Kislev, but it's the month of Sagittarius, that this particular light called the Or Haganuz is available to mankind. Now, the reason why they were like, we've got to light the menorah, we've got to get the candles going, like we need this oil, like it's because they were connecting with that light of miracles that's available during that time, which helped them, 13 of them, overcome the 14,000. It's sort of like 300, except even more badass. Do you guys remember that Zack Snyder movie 300? With like all the hot dudes and the super slow-mo, and like Xerxes was like the hot dude from like Charlie's Angels 2, Full Throttle. It was like totally like that. So the oil kept lasting because it was like the channel for the creator to come through and create that miracle. Well, on that same day also, there was a woman named Hannah her, and I believe it was her 7 sons, were confronted by the Greek army, and rather than be subjugated, they sacrificed themselves and they died for their beliefs. They were put to death. So, you know, all of those events sort of coincided and created this like these miraculous situations that day. And what was only, you know, the amount of oil that might burn for one day to get them through to connect with the Hanukkah miracles, it actually lasted through all 8 days. So we connect with that that same energy intelligence during these 8 days of Hanukkah. And it's our certainty and our faith that are one element. And it's our willingness to overcome our own like selfish nature or our fearful nature or our weakened nature. And what we're doing is, we're doing forgiveness work. We're taking compassionate action. We are moving forward. We're letting grudges go. Because this is the self-sacrifice that opens us up to this energy of the Or Haganuz. Now, what that specific energy is, it's the energy that permeated the world, this realm, when the first 36 hours of creation, before the sin of Adam, before we became separate from the light, when everything was whole and complete and perfect, and there had not been any separation yet. So becoming available to this light, we can have more affinity with it when we bring unity in from what was separated, when we can create unity. So being able to forgive and overcome grudges and things like that are the most powerful things we can do, especially if it's difficult. If the more difficult it is, the more energy is released, the better the sacrifice. It's like when we in the Old Testament days, when we would take our sacrifice to the temple, we wouldn't choose the throwaway animal. It wasn't like the scrawny runt that we would pick out. We would take the most prized, beautiful specimen that was the most precious. Well, when we sacrifice things that are the most precious to us, it's usually our ego. It's usually our pride. It's usually like, our perception that we don't want to sacrifice. So the thing that will be like the key to unlock the magic sauce for us right now is self-sacrifice, overcoming the things that we are most precious about, and finding a way to foster unity. So again, deepening our certainty in the Creator and our faith. We are doing acts of sharing. We are being spiritually generous. And we are fostering unity and kindness. And so if we can do those things, we can get divine inspiration from the Creator as to what it is within us that needs to shift and how, in order for outer circumstances to shift. So we're doing inner work, right? We're not just going to the outer issue and like putting a Band-Aid on the physical circumstances. We're first addressing our spiritual issues. So think about a couple of things that you have maybe throughout your life been challenged with, as far as like your soul and your personality and like your patterns and experiences, and why is this always an issue for me? Like a couple of those things, if you can shift and make transformation in that area, the 3 dreams that you have that you're like, why can't I make progress in these dreams? You will begin to make progress in those dreams. Even if they don't seem related, they are. So from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, like it's so crazy how I just like kind of went into that, but this is basically the whole talk of our cards. I kind of like put the cart before the horse, but it's so interesting how, the cards are like speaking exactly to the energy of Han. I don't know why I'm ever surprised at these things. The cards are always like, this is what's going on in the astrology. This is what's going on in the high holidays. This is what's happening in between. But like, they're totally speaking to this. So from the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck, and this is our alchemy reading for the week. This is what we do in the middle of the week, where we go deeper into the process of our spiritual lessons that we've been working with, and we sort of like address like the what we do. How are we approaching these lessons? This is how we're approaching the work. So our process message. So we've got the uncreated, which I think that this is really interesting because the uncreated is representative of the Or Haganuz. It's like there is all of this inner hidden light waiting to be revealed within us. This inner hidden light is light that is waiting to be revealed through the transformation of our darkness. This inner light is our potential. It's our sense of serenity and fulfillment. It's our potential friends and romantic partners and our ability to be successful and create things and be blessed. This inner light is revealed the more and the more we do that inner work, the transformation, the forgiveness, the grieving and letting go of the old, right? So this is the hidden potential that has yet to be revealed. This is like unadulterated creation energy here. And this is the thing that we're connecting with when we connect with that Or Haganuz. It's like this light that is yet to be revealed. So this is this magic moment right now. So we've got the uncreated, followed by coagulatio or coagulation, and then followed by ash. So things are really coming together as we do this healing work. And the more we do the healing work, the more things are coming together. That's part of the miracle. Like the coagulation is like the miracle coming into form. It's starting to happen. It's like the photo that I used today. It's so funny because when I get my props and things for the photos, I just have an instinct like, go open this book and like open it to a page, and then I'll read the page and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly ties into the reading. And it's nothing that I expect. It's just like, this is part of the oracle. So today my astronomy textbook from college caught my eye. And so I opened that, and I opened to a page that had these diagrams of the birth of a star and how these stars form. And it's so funny how it's like these stars, this hidden light is revealed, but through this like intense, chaotic, catastrophic process. And it's the same kind of process that goes on within us. It's like these explosions and this expansion and contraction and breaking down and rebirth and sparks of light and stardust everywhere. And that's exactly what's going on a spiritual level within us as well. So, the ash here is like, what is burned away? What has fallen away? Let that be gone now. Sometimes, and I'm super guilty of this, but when you've been in a situation where you might have been in frustrating circumstances for a long time, or, you've been working with a team that just like, everybody is not aligning and it's so frustrating. You may have been in an upsetting dynamic, a relationship dynamic with one or more people for a period of time, right? And then think about like when things finally maybe start to shift a little bit and somebody's done something, somebody's made an effort, and things are starting to be different. Sometimes it takes a conscious effort to get out of the old mood and realize that things are starting to change and that we have to change also with the things. So this reminds me of like all week in the last couple of weeks, it's like we've been shown our deep subconscious patterns that have been laid there since early childhood. And so they've been being brought up to be addressed so we can move through it into like new beginnings, new relationship dynamics, where we can finally just grieve the past and let it go. Let it be in the past, and then choose now to let go of the anger, to let it get better. Like it's Monica and Michael Berg, the leaders of the Kabbalah Center, I've been referencing a lot of their lecture for Hanukkah during this talk. But, one of the things that they pointed out was like one of the miracles, one of the self-sacrifices we can make is that just let your anger go. like whatever beef you have with someone or grudge, it's like, do you want to be right and hold on to the grudge, or do you want to get miracles? Do you want to be in the miracle zone? And I'm like, yeah, that is so true, because it feels so good to be right, doesn't it? To hold on to your self-righteousness and your justification. But when you're like, well, this could be at the cost of something amazing happening. And then you're like, well, this isn't as satisfying as it used to be to hold on to this grudge. So this is like about letting what needs to burn away. Just allow that to be burned into ash. And then, part of this ash is sifting through what has burned away now. Okay, carefully going through, are there, like, think about a burned down house or an estate, right? Are there any heirlooms and valuables that we need to bring from our roots here? Because we're doing root work in this, and we're breaking the sins of the generation, right? When we break these patterns that we witnessed in our parents, those patterns were given to them by their parents and their parents and their parents. And they've been interwoven in these patchwork quilts of everyone's problems and, their hardships and their perceptions, right? And so they've been passed down, and it takes someone consciously breaking those chains and breaking that curse in the bloodline so it doesn't continue to get passed down and passed on. And so if you're here, congratulations. You're probably the one in your family that has to do this. So yeah, you want to hold on to those precious memories and look for the good. Try to see the good in other people, even though it's easy to see the horse's ass, in someone, or that son of a bitch, right? Like, choose to put that aside and look around that and find a couple of good things that you can focus on about people. While we're at it, we're looking at the things that we don't want to carry on anymore, right? That we would like to heal in our family. Because when we do deep spiritual healing on behalf of the bloodline, but on behalf of our generations of our family and our soul family, that not only heals, like the healing not only affects future generations, but it also goes back retroactively and sends this purification through the vein work and the root work of that family tree. So there is no past, present, or future, or time and space. Really, it's all happening at once. So the work that we're doing now is eternal. There is no beginning or end. There is no fluctuation. It stays. It remains. And that is what is the most valuable. That's what you want to build in your legacy. That is what you want to share with others. It's what is eternal. What is a pure moment of love, of unconditional love that you share with another person? You can't take that back. A moment of compassion, when you take a compassionate action, when you take steps toward forgiveness, you're moving forward permanently. It's the bitterness doesn't come back with the same vileness, when you start to move forward and just choose mercy, just choose compassion. And it's not easy. And I struggle with it too. I am here with you in the trenches. But this is what's being asked of us. And this is ultimately what's going to bring us the deepest fulfillment. So to clarify these cards, under Uncreated, we've got the High Priestess. And so this is like, okay, I have all of this hidden light within and all of this potential, and I want to reveal this, but like, what is it that I need to do? What's the action I need to take? How is it all connected? It's like, this is what we can do as we're connecting with the candles as they burn. We pray to the Creator and ask to the Creator to speak to us through our intuition, through that inner voice, through the Holy Spirit, and guide us, right? Because we have an inner knowing. What is it? What is it that's being asked of me? You probably don't even need to spend a lot of time in prayer thinking about it. You probably know exactly what needs to be done in order to reveal this potential. And if you don't, we have talked about it on all last week's videos, so you can probably just go back and pick a random one to watch. And we've talked about this journaling exercise. I believe it's in the new moon workshop. I don't know. I guess you'll just have to go back and binge watch every one of my videos. Oh no. Okay, so underneath coagulation, we have the Knight of Swords. And so in this deck, this particular Knight of Swords character has this go-getter quality. Like, I know what needs to be done and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to have the courage of my convictions. And I believe in myself and I believe in my cause. And I'm going to stand up for what's right. And I'm going to use my wits about me and I'm going to get it done. So the Knight of Swords is like incredibly intelligent. And they're very astute and they can see exactly what needs to be done in any given situation. And they're the ones like rolling in hot, like, oh, here, I've got tools. I know how to help this. I know how to fix this. Here, move over. Let me do this. This is the Knight of Swords. So again, it's like if I have a feeling that we all know exactly what needs to be healed right now. And we've been knowing, and it's probably all the things that we were working on during Rosh Hashanah, and they're coming back around for this wonderful chance. Like during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot, we get a new soul, and then we get our soul like turbocharged with all the good spiritual juice during Sukkot, and then we spend about 6 weeks getting all smudged up and aggravated again and hot and bothered. And then we have a nice little chance to have a nice 8-day soul dry cleaning that doesn't require any pain or suffering from us other than what we're already going through. And that is Hanukkah. So what were you working on? What were you like bringing to the altar during that time period? Chances are it's like this is just the residue, we're mostly have conquered this. We've got 6 of Wands here, which talks about victory after the battle, getting over the hump. Last week we had 6 of Swords over and over and over again, right? Getting past the conflict, getting over the difficulty, getting over the difficult period of change and disruption and chaos, right? So we're on the right side of the tracks now. We're on our way to success. And so, yes, the Knight of Swords sees what needs to be done for it all to come together. Now, one note about the Coagulatio card is that so this, in a positive way, is about things finally coming together and chemically binding. And so it's like, oh my gosh, my life, my career, it's all coming together. It's all taking shape. Like this dream is finally like starting to show fruit. Like, oh my gosh, the inner work that I'm doing or whatever you've been talking with your therapist, like you're having breakthroughs, like it's all coming together. Oh my gosh, like, wow, I'm starting to have insights and now my relationships are improving and oh my gosh, I just met someone kind of thing, right? Well, there's a shadow side of Coagulatio, which circles back to maybe something in your family dynamics that you might be healing. So Coagulatio does speak of, in a negative way, this can depict 2 entities or individuals that have come together, but to the degree that it is almost like creating inertia and stuckness and resentment. It's like 2 characters that are so intertwined with their kind of codependent dynamic that they can't unhook. They're inextricably connected. And because of this extremity, because of this lack of separation or lack of individualism or lack of like independence, there's this codependency and enmeshment that has caused stagnation, stuckness, and resentment and bitterness. These are terrible vibrations. They lock you up. They close you off to receiving. You can't receive miracles. You can't be in alignment with the Shishina when you are in a state of like sourness, because the Holy Spirit, that divine feminine part of the Godhead, can only be present when there's joy and gladness and thanksgiving. When there is sour bitterness, anger, this entity is not there. And this is the entity that blesses and protects and nurtures. So again, like this, so many times we get into these relationships of enmeshment and codependency, because originally it's like we care so much, we want to do the right thing. We want good things to be there. But when there is no freedom and no interdependence and no individuality, there's stagnation, stuckness. And when there's resentment there, it's like both individuals are closed off and they're harming one another. And so even though you think by continue on in the enmeshment and in the codependency that you're helping the person because you don't want to rock the boat and you don't want to hurt them, you are hurting them spiritually, because there's division there on the inside, and there's resentment, and then there's evil eye building up, right? And there's causing more and more resentment, and then that's causing both individuals to be stuck and plateaued, and they can't, So the way to start healing this situation where it's like a clusterfuck of spiritual knottingness is to begin to melt away the bindings of the codependency and enmeshment with finding a way to be interdependent individuals who can agree to disagree, who can maintain their individuality, and who can coexist in peace without being offended or, let's just call it without being offended by the other, right? So by coming together, you melt apart. By being stuck together, you're pushing yourselves apart. So it's so funny, by binding too tightly, it's caused separation. But by having intentional individualism, distance, right, separation, that brings people back into unity. So freedom to coexist interdependently is going to open up the way for more blessing. It's going to open you both up as vessels, and it's going to create a deeper and healthier relationship. But what needs to exist here is compassionate action, forgiveness, tolerance, patience, and healthy boundaries, and owning your individualism. You can do that in a kind and peaceful and loving way without projecting on someone super hardcore. And then, where are we? Ash was paired with Six of Wands. So letting the past be in the past, sifting through the remnants of the past, really solidifying your understanding of where you've come from and where you're going and what you're healing. The more that we are seeing very clearly our patterns and those subconscious beliefs and programs that have been laid there for so long and we just haven't noticed them, the more that we're aware of them, the less power they have. As they come back up as reflexes, we see them so much more clearly, and we're like, well, I'm not a reflexive robot. I'm a divine human being with sovereignty, and I can choose with free will who I want to be and how I want to act, right? So allowing what is come and gone to fall away, right? Let our grudges blow away with the ashes, right? Finally burn that dead body and get it out of here. It's stinking, right? This is going to be what's going to give us the victory to move forward, to transform the inner challenges within, but that will also seem to just magically dissolve our outer challenges on the outside, making way for miracles to come through. And sometimes we don't even recognize miracles that are miracles, right? Because sometimes they're very subtle. Like this morning, it occurred to me, because this is something that comes up at the Kabbalah Center a bunch, but I was just thinking wow, no news is good news. I have nothing to complain about at the moment. Not really. And it's sometimes we don't recognize what a miracle that is. I work at a restaurant, right? And every table I have to ask them, does anybody have any food allergies that I need to let chef know about? It's the most stressful part of my job. I can't even understand how the human beings can survive leaving the house anymore. We have become that delicate. I am so ashamed of humanity. Like we really like have let like processed food just break us down. And if the wind blows, we're going to fall over. I can't even believe how many food allergies there are now. Conditional food allergies. Like if I'm allergic to tuna fish, but only if I'm sitting next to cats. It's like, oh my God. We'll let them know. So anyway, I have to ask every single table if they have an allergy. The other day I had to like make sure to alert everyone on earth about this guy's raw apple allergy. Then everybody's like, can you ask him if, I was like, it's red apples. It's red apples. He said specifically red apples. Or like, can you see if he can have Granny Smiths anywhere near any of his food? As it turns out, it's like, it wasn't even his allergy. It was like his girlfriend. And he didn't want to go home and like have that on his mouth. And like, I don't know, just like, oh my God. Your girlfriend is so delicate that she could have like a deadly reaction if you go out and eat red apples. Like, this is the state of mankind. So literally lately, when tables, like nobody at the table has a food allergy, I will tell them, I'm like, you guys are really lucky. Like, you have no idea. The odds that all of you together have no food allergies, it's a miracle. Not having an accident is a miracle. Having no injuries is a miracle. Having less injuries than you could have is a miracle, right? Having our health, having a bed to stay in and live in, a roof over our head, food, hot water. I would hate being in a situation where I had no access to hot water. I love hot water. So again, like there's so many miracles that we don't even realize. We're always looking for these big grandiose things, but really when we start seeing how fragile and precarious life is and how if God doesn't take care of us, we're just fucked. That's what I realized a couple of years ago in the tornado. I looked outside. I was like, this is absolute apocalyptic. Like, I'm either fucked or I'm going to survive. Like, God, you're going to take care of me through this or I'm dead. Like, I mean, it's either my time or it's not. It was so ridiculous what I was looking at and up against that I just was like, I can't be bothered to even be scared. I was like, hey, certainty. But, again, it's like recognizing all the miracles that are always around us at all times. And then that raises our vibration and it makes our magnetism so much more powerful because there's almost nothing more powerful than being in a state of appreciation, acknowledging all that you have, because then you're like, vibrationally speaking, you're like, I am abundant. I have so much. I am so grateful. And that is like big ups, right? It's high vibes. It's very magnetic. It draws more and more in. But also when we are declaring the Creator's goodness in any way or fashion, that puts us in this bubble of protection and favor. So life hack. If you're ever in a hairy situation, start talking about the goodness and greatness of the Creator, right? And be in awe of that. The more open we are to awe, the little miracles start. I'm in all of this. I'm noticing, I'm appreciating. It's so exciting. And then they start growing and growing and growing, right? It becomes like a snowball that grows. So to get these miracles flowing, start by overcoming your darkness, overcoming your ego, doing an act of sharing, facing fears, choosing faith when you could be doubtful, and appreciating with a sense of real awe and wonder, all the miracles that are already around you that we take for granted, that we see as mundane. There's a story at the Kabbalah Center, and this is the last thing I'll say, is that one of the students said to the Rav one time, they were like, oh my gosh, I was in a wreck, but it was a miracle. Like no one was hurt. Everything kind of worked out just like really smoothly. And like, it was like a good wreck, right? It was a good version of a wreck. And the Rav was like, and this is so infuriating. He was like, oh, that's great. A miracle happened to me too. I didn't have a wreck on the way to the center today. That was my miracle. I didn't even have to deal with any of it. And so it reminded me of like recently I had a miracle in my flat tire. I had really old tires. I'm that person that like, I don't want to like spend money on tires and things. I'd rather do it like use it other ways. And that's one of my toxic traits. I'm getting better about it. But I let my tires go for too long and I didn't notice. And then I had a feeling like my intuition was like bothering me about it for a long, like I'm embarrassed, but like for 2 weeks. And then there was even like a woman who's a healer in a channel, and I watched her videos, and she was like, somebody out there has a tire issue that they need to deal with. And I'm like, it's probably me. And I walked out one day to go to a morning appointment that I had, and my tire was flat in my driveway. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best flat tire I've ever had. It didn't happen while I was driving. It wasn't scary. I had AAA, so they just like came to my house and changed it like within the hour. Like it was just like, oh my God, this is like the best flat tire that's ever happened. But the miracle that I didn't even notice, well, that I actually did, I was appreciative, was that the tires were very overdue. So every day that I did not have a flat tire was also a miracle in and of itself. All right, y'all. I'm tired. I still have to do ritualing for Hanukkah, and I still haven't gotten to do my own new moon journaling yet. The thing about being the mystic is that I have to do all this stuff to share with everyone, but then I also have to do the personal work myself. And sometimes it's like, when do I get to do that? So I got to do my own ritualing. But yeah, I hope y'all have a good rest of your night and tomorrow. And remember, so if you're watching this late tonight, you still have Wednesday, and Thursday is night 8 of Hanukkah. So it's never too late to really connect in to that open energy that's specifically available now. It's a particular pitch and quality of energy that is just not available at different times of the year. So set yourself aside some time to at least light a candle that you can gaze at and pray with, and connect with the Creator through that light. One thing that I've been doing, and this is really the last thing I'll say, is I really like those saints candles, like the glass ones, the cheap like Catholic ones. And I'll light one up. I'll light my Jesus one up, and I'll pray to Jesus lit up in the candle. And it's something about the flame like burning behind it. It really brings it to life, and it really, I don't know, it gives you this feeling that you're really connecting. You are really connecting, but it's something anthropomorphic to attach to. All right, y'all. Be good, but not too good. Ciao.